Buongiorno a tutti, good morning everybody, and welcome back to the ultimate endurance race, the 24, brought to you by TB Karts and IRK Promotion. Well, we are in towards the final 4 hours of what has been an enthralling and captivating race here at the OTTOBIANO circuit at the Pista South Milano. My name's Alex, and obviously through the broadcast that is currently being viewed on Gold TV channel 809, the IRK TV YouTube channel, the IRK Promotion Facebook page, and on Italian Digital TV channel 244. You join us as we are about to hit 5/6 of this race being completed, and in about 4.5 minutes we'll have 4 hours to go. The teams hitting the home stretch. And at the moment, well, through the night, the advantage gained as we have now passed 1,000 laps, which means we completed over 1,380 kilometres by the defending champions from Germany, PF Racing. And they have a mammoth 7-lap lead over the number 22 of Red Racing, NAC team, who started on pole position just under 20 hours ago. Round out your top 3. Playcart and Movers LV complete the top 5. Well, Team Volturno, Formula Zero, having made a comeback through the night, they've got themselves up into 7th position. And also with the fact that the number 24 of TRX Motorsport, who at one point were up as high as 3rd, round out the top 8 ahead of Bremo 58. And last year's runners-up from Belgium in Kart 40, KMRS Racing. There's still things to be decided on the track. There's still things to be decided off the track. But I've spoken with a few people once I arrived here this morning, just around about under an hour ago, and some people have managed to get some sleep, if not that much, to be completely honest with you. And as I say that, Bremo 58 now are in the pit lane. And Red Racing have just been hit with a 20-second time penalty for not slowing under yellow flag conditions. There have been some teams that have been allowed to not change the driver during the pit stop due to a technical issue. But it is going to be the run to the checkered flag, as we really have, wonderful display of the fireworks at around midnight here at OTTOBIANO. But it has been one of those races that the first hour was really going to give us the opening chapter to how this race would unfold. And one of the things that we have had is the fact that the temperatures did decrease quite a bit overnight. So the track would have been a little bit colder. The tyres would also have to be used to their maximum over the course of the night time. But sunrise hit the circuit at just after 7 o'clock this morning. Now we're going to be broadcasting until 11 o'clock this morning, and then we will bring you the golden hour, the final 60 minutes of the 24 for 2025. So there are a few teams that are being hit with penalties, mainly because, with regards to the regulations, if a driver doesn't slow down during a yellow flag, the first infraction is a 10-second penalty, and then for a second infraction it doubles. So you can see the madness from there. Looks like Kart 21, Bremo 58 are in the pits. Looks like Kart number 18, which is Gold TV, had called it time after 819 laps. Now, there are some teams that have already exceeded the minimum pit stop time required in the pit lane. That's Armax Young. They've been in the pits for a total of over 63 minutes. Kart 9, that is Auto Vergate Supercar, they've been in for over 61 minutes. And then Kart 36, Bremo 69 have been in the pits for a total of 1 hour and 4 minutes. But each team, by the checkered flag, must have been in the pit lane for at least 60 minutes of this race. So at least 1/24 of the 24 hours must be spent in pit lane. We are also seeing that some pit stops have gone a little bit over, so that additional time will then be added on to the race time. There are still some teams that will have 2-lap deductions for penalties given for not changing drivers, as we now head into the 21st hour of the 24. And once again, we have to say a big thank you to all the event partners, also to the team here at Pista South Milano at OTTOBIANO for allowing us to once again host this fantastic event. It's a really, really, even though drivers might be physically and mentally tired, there's still also that wonderful atmosphere of camaraderie and people having discussions. And I've spoken to a few drivers this morning, and they're really, really upbeat. I mean, Lucy Shuckford from TRX, she said, "Yeah, I did get some on and off side of things, but let's head down trackside to Jelenia for the first time. Over to you."
Buongiorno anche da parte nostra. Prosegue il racconto di questa 24 ore a 4 ore dalla fine. Finalmente tra poco conosceremo il nome del team vincitore che si aggiudicherà, perché non l'abbiamo sottolineato abbastanza ieri, il monte premi da 10.000 euro. E allora, come sta andando, soprattutto come è andata la notte con Kevin Liguori?
È stata abbastanza stancante, poi abbiamo avuto un po' di imprevisti che adesso stiamo un po' sistemando. Tipo che abbiamo purtroppo avuto dei problemi sul kart, quindi abbiamo dovuto rimescolare tutta la strategia, tutte le carte dal mazzo, però con i ragazzi stiamo facendo un ottimo lavoro. Diciamo che le nuove mescole sui kart li rendono decisamente più performanti, quindi anche stancanti, e stiamo dando il 2000%.
Ma hai riposato un po'? Io sto facendo un po' questa domanda a tutti, perché ci sono dei piloti che qualche ora se la sono concessa per riposare, per dormire, altri che invece sono svegli da ieri mattina, che non ne vogliono sapere di dormire.
Beh, quelli che sono svegli da ieri mattina li definirei di più eroi a sto punto. No, qualche ora ho dovuto dormire, anche perché iniziavo a non connettere più col cervello, e quando poi sei stanco inizia a girare male.
Eccolo, lui è uno degli eroi a cui facciamo riferimento.
Esattamente, lui è il nostro eroe che ci sta salvando a tutti, perché siamo tutti pieni di acciacchi. Lui invece sarà anche l'età, ma sta dando tutto quanto e noi continuiamo a credere in lui.
Però dobbiamo dire che ci sono anche dei colpi di scena, diciamo, che conferiscono anche una certa spettacolarità a questa 24 ore e che ci aiutano anche un po' a tenerci attivi, svegli, con l'adrenalina sempre in corpo, tipo i fuochi d'artificio della serata di ieri. Ma li avete visti?
Io in realtà ero dentro, ho iniziato a sentire dei colpi, ho detto a posto, il kart sta scoppiando direttamente. Poi ho visto anche delle luci, ho detto se è il mio almeno la gente si diverte a vedere che esplode. Poi comunque ho visto bellissimo tutto quanto, penso che l'abbiamo fatto per la mezzanotte, comunque sì. Spettacolare, molto, molto bello.
E invece all'alba chi c'era di voi in pista? Eccolo qua. E allora, com'è stato correre all'alba?
Ma molto bello, ero un po' stanco perché ormai sono un po' fuso, ecco perché.
Ma tu pensi di farcela a rimanere sveglio fino alla fine della gara, oppure magari una mezz'ora, un'ora prima delle 2 te la concederai?
Devo correre tra poco altre 2 ore, o mi addormento mentre guido oppure...
Però meglio, perché in realtà questa è una strategia secondo me molto intelligente, perché la gara ti dà l'adrenalina e quindi magari ti risvegli correndo.
Questo sì, però anche dormire non mi sarebbe dispiaciuto. Io ci ho provato a casa ma non ce l'ho fatta, perché io ho fatto uno stint la mattina alle 3, no, quello della partenza, alle 2 non mi ricordo.
Sì, alle 2.
Poi sono tornato a casa, ho detto provo a dormire, ma alle
avevi
4...
troppa adrenalina in corpo.
Sì, esatto, poi alle 4 di pomeriggio, come fai a dormire alle 4? e quindi niente, quindi sono rimasto qua sveglio.
E ormai sveglio fino alla fine, dai, lo diciamo.
Esatto.
I veri eroi si vedono qui fino alla fine. Qui abbiamo invece una faccia leggermente più assonnata e completiamo ovviamente le testimonianze del team. Come va?
No,
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, io sono quello che ha dormito più di tutti loro, mi sa.
Ah, tu hai dormito?
Un pochino.
Ah, ok, quindi però ti vedo fresco, dai, devi correre a breve.
Hai detto che ero assonnato, adesso sono fresco, non puoi cambiare le carte in tavola.
Stavo cercando di addolcire la situazione. Comunque, allora, come sta andando dal punto di vista proprio del campo, anzi della pista, la gara, e soprattutto che obiettivo avete nel breve?
Vabbè, allora l'obiettivo principale prima era comunque di arrivare almeno primi, però questo obiettivo è sfumato pian piano col tempo. Ci stiamo giocando la top 5, almeno quello è il risultato principale adesso. È dura, è stancante, poi siamo molto tirati con gli orari di pit e quindi se è un problema salta tutto, quindi siamo perfetti, però ci siamo allenati per tanto per questo.
È vero, confermo che diciamo sono degli abitué nel campionato di RK Promotion. Allora, noi vi restituiamo la linea, abbiamo anche voluto raccontarvi un po' le testimonianze da parte dei piloti nelle prime ore di questa mattinata, lo ripetiamo, circa 4 ore alla fine della gara. Noi continueremo ovviamente a raccontarvi sempre tutto, passo dopo passo.
So a big thank you to Yelenia down there. A lot of activity going on as well. Not only do we have karting briefly in this our mainstay, but there's some motocross action happening on the track alongside us here at OTTOBIANO. Movers LV have just come into pit lane, as have the Need for Speed Team Cyprus 1, who are dropping down towards the bottom part of the top 20. But still, the fastest lap after 1,011 tours of this 1,380 metre circuit has been by the number 13 team from Germany, PF Racing. Dennis Höller behind the wheel and has spent well over at least, I think, 6 hours behind the wheel of the number 13. Now, of course, there have been some, there was one big change to ensure a bit more fairness to the drivers over the course of the 24 hours, and that was mandatory kart changes, where it can be anywhere up to between 6 to 12 kart changes throughout the 24 hours. But there we see a look down at the weighing area for the drivers. Minimum weight must be 85 kilos. We have seen some teams given some time penalties based on drivers being underweight, and that is based on 10 seconds penalty per kilo. So anything up to 1 kilogram, that's a 10-second penalty. Between 1 and 2 kilograms underweight, and there you see the weights being used. There's plenty to go around here for all the 39 teams out of the 40. It looks like there is going to be a driver change for Roma Karting 7. So looks like Samuele Risso is going to be getting behind the wheel very shortly. So one driver will get out, then the according weight, or it might have been there's a little bit of a helping hand. Yep. So the driver change has been effected. The driver going out will now be effectively be weighed. So Roma Karting 7 rejoin in 11th position as our race leaders, with Höller behind the wheel of the PF Racing number 13 kart, comes in on lap 1012. Now, one of the things that I did talk about last night before we went off air until this morning was about the fact of being at the peak of your powers. Now, mental and physical exhaustion come as part and parcel of a 24-hour endurance race, and everyone having a different tolerance with regards to their limits, as we have had a change on track for position. Well, that is effectively that Roma Karting 7 have come out at about 0.6 of a second behind Armax Jr. So that is an on-track battle for the final position in the top 10. As that was a quick pit stop by PF Racing. They were out in a minute and a half. So minimum pit stop time 1 minute, maximum pit stop time 5 minutes. We have seen some dramas at Lions Eye RT actually in the latter stages of our final broadcast yesterday night, when we started at 8:30, about an hour and a bit after sunset had fully taken hold and the dark skies surrounded the locality here in OTTOBIANO. So Roma Karting 7 needs to get a bit of a move on to close in on Armax Junior. And as I said, that is the battle for. So Samuel Eriso versus Kevin Cancelli. So that is an on-track battle for position, but also a little bit further back. Looking at around about the bottom part of the top 16, karts 12 and 21, Sparkart Racing and Bremo 58. They are battling away. They're 2 seconds apart at the moment. Obviously, it will take a. Kart 9 has received a 2-lap penalty for not changing drivers during their pit stop on lap 949, and that is Autoverigati Supercar. So 4 teams will have 2 laps deducted off of their total laps completed. Bremo 77, Alessandro Vanacci behind the wheel. Vanacci behind the wheel in the number 31. It's done it's done a big amount of driving, well over 6 to 7 hours. Now Cartel in the number 6, one of the Swiss teams that have joined us here in OTTOBIANO, their driver has been behind the wheel for 1 hour and 36 minutes, so that kart might be running on possible fumes. Pierre Cajot behind the wheel of that one. Now, the forecast for the rest of the race itself, the temperature is going to increase to around about 25 degrees Celsius, so thereby the humidity comes back in. So hydration is going to be a key point for all drivers, whether they're on track or off track, even with like the people that are on the radios. And we saw very what was happening between the team at Goats Racing team. That they were passing their headset on. So the number 7, who's currently running 14th at the moment, their driver who's been on the track for 48 minutes, and that is Daniele Rossi behind the wheel, and has spent quite a bit of time. Well over 6 hours, 6.5 hours, I believe. And you can see laptops are still open, paired to mobile phone hotspots with live timing being provided. But with that pit stop that PF Racing did take, they did actually. Höller has now handed back over to Vicker Schleds, who took the opening stint and was piloting the number 13 like an absolute rocket ship. TRX Motorsport now pit from 8th position in the number 24. And Leon Bennett behind the wheel of that kart, I think has been in for over 6.5 hours. But we are nearly a quarter of a way through this 21st hour out of 24, and still some juxtaposing for position. Getting a little bit close into the left-hander. There's one of the team from Mr. Karting Warwick, the team led by Stu Stratton, Leo Brown. It was only when I spoke to him yesterday and I said, you know what, as soon as I saw that Jack's Motorsport race suit, I knew exactly who you were. So good to see drivers like Leo, who do also drive competitively in karting, more in the owner driver or team base kind of things. But 15th, getting that battle's really heating up now. Pico in the number 12 versus Francesco Torboli in the number 21. And last time around, they were about 0.4 of a second apart. So the battle for P15 really starting to build some intensity. So TRX Motorsport, they've been in the pits for just over a minute and 3/4. And it has been a little bit close to the tyre barriers on the pit lane exit when drivers are coming out of that final corner here at OTTOBIANO. They're carrying a lot of speed. And with that, there's probably a little bit of throttle manipulation to just feather the throttle and just carry the speed through, but not too much speed, as we nearly found out that someone could have ended up in the wall quite hard last night at about 8 p.m. But still, there's going to be a lot of things happening out on track. As I said, there's a lot to be decided on, lots to be decided off. We've had a few other teams being hit. Oh, my goodness me. RG Racing have been given a 40-second time penalty. But let's head back down to Jelenia, who's standing by in the pits.
Welcome back, siamo tornati e siamo con il leader di classifica della categoria junior, ovvero Leonardo Rivadossi. Come sta andando fin qui?
Beh dai, sta andando bene, considerando che alla partenza c'è stato un piccolo incidente, siamo partiti praticamente 36esimi, adesso siamo intorno alla 11ª posizione, il passo è come i primi, quindi...
Ma nella notte tu sei stato sveglio, sei rimasto qui, hai corso?
Sì, ho fatto 2 turni verso le 11 e poi verso le 2 di notte.
Dovete sapere che Leonardo è giovanissimo, hai 15 anni? 14 anni, quindi ovviamente le energie per sostenere una 24 ore le ha, e ha anche ovviamente la professionalità e l'abilità, perché insomma lo vediamo grande protagonista in campionato con i RK Promotion. Ma inizi ad accusare un po' la stanchezza?
Vabbè, un po' si sente, più che altro alle mani, e per il resto non più di tanto, dai.
Quindi riusciamo ad andare avanti senza dormire fino alla fine della gara?
Sì, dai.
Ottimo, grazie a Leonardo Rivadossi, linea a voi.
Thank you very much, Jelenia. Good to hear from more drivers down in the pit lane. We're going to try and catch up with as many as we can over our last remaining time of broadcasting here from OTTOBIANO. So, right. Effectively, ladies and gentlemen, we are 67 laps from eclipsing 1,500 kilometers. As you can see, the good old pit boards. It's a bit like the 1980s in Formula One. Yeah, forget radio communication, just stick a pit board out. And there's some interesting solutions I've seen. The side-by-side battle going into turn 1. With the cart on the inside making it nice and cleanly through, but still has got the car behind, hot on their heels. As you can see, walkie-talkies, radio solutions being used. I've even seen some drivers where they've actually got the in-ear plugs in the side of the race helmet with a microphone in front of their mouth, and then the radio transmitters sort of like has a slide-on clip solution. Omar Aswat was one perfect example when I collared him for a social media interview. Of course, we've been keeping people up to date via the IRK Promotion social media channels, both on Instagram and also which parlays onto Facebook. And still the lead is quite significant. Vickersted's trying to really push at the moment and is putting in lap times of around a low 1 minute 9.2. And we're seeing that the top 3 are pretty much matching each other on pace. So there are those teams that have good consistency and good pace. And that's the thing about a race like this. You really do need that consistency to get through the graveyard shift, and those teams that have made it through that's one goal attained. But it's now the final push. It's the last road to the checkered flag, and when we get to that final hour, it's going to be interesting. And there's the Go TV channel van. Nicely, nice wrap on that one, I do have to say. Okay, play carts now in the pits from 4th on the road. So that's going to give the likes of Team Volturno, maybe Movers LV. It depends on how long the pit stops take, because Team Volturno is 3 laps behind them. Movers LV, who were as high as actually leading the race at one point, they've got Hendrik Gruber behind the wheel, and he's been at the wheel in total for just around about just over 4 hours. The driver's done the most driving, Davis Zalmans, a good friend that I've known through his racing in Latvia. He's done nearly 6 hours for the team. But what you'll find that there'll be different strategies with different outfits, and what will happen is that there'll be some drivers that will really be the foundation, the backbone of the team, and will really want to put the hard work in and get us through, get those teams through the night. And there is Davis Salmons actually just on the left hand side of the screen. He's on the radio, keeping Hendrik Gruber very much informed of what is going on. So it has been the case that NAC team now move up into 3rd place. So play carts have now been in the pits for a minute and 42. And they've just gone back out and rejoin in 4th position. So there's quite a lot of notepads out as well. It's a game of strategy. It's a game of chess, only with the TB kart specific R1. It's a TB kart it's a TB kart through and through. Oh, you can just see how close they're getting to that tyre wall on the pit lane exit. Coming out of that final corner, they're carrying a big rate of speed. I think one of the teams I've just spotted might be Red Racing. So, right. So 3 hours, just over 3 hours and 37 minutes remain on the timer. JPRTF, who do have a 2-lap penalty that will be added on. So 2 laps they'll be demoted 2 laps once the checkered flag has fallen. They're actually the highest of the teams that have had a penalty issued for not changing the driver at the pit stop. And they're currently running at the moment, they're actually in the pit lane at the minute. They're currently running 16th. So that's not actually that's a pretty good shout for them, to be fair. But it is just going to be the case. It is the PF Racing show with Vika Schledz, who took the opening stint. And now in total has been on driving duties for just over 5 hours. So, very wide line taken out of the final corner. I think that was... But let's head down to Riccardo for the first time.
Grazie Alex per la linea, dopo aver sentito già qualche intervista della nostra Ilenia questa mattina. Tra l'altro buongiorno anche da me, Riccardo Scarlato. Abbiamo intercettato un altro pilota, un altro superstite di questa Super 24 ore, quando mancano 3 ore e mezza, sì, quasi 4 ore. Manetti della Playcard, esatto. Come sta andando?
Ma dai, bene, non avevamo grandi aspettative, per ora dovremmo essere tra il 10° e il 15° posto. Abbiamo avuto un po' di sfortuna nelle ultime 3-4 ore coi kart, vabbè, fa parte del gioco.
Ma tu c'entri qualcosa col Manetti famoso che correva in kart? No?
Lo chiedono spesso? No.
No, vabbè, però senti, play kart con pagine svizzera, giusto?
Esatto, sì. Siamo, anche se una buona parte dei piloti sono italiani, io sono svizzero che sono il fondatore, dunque il team è svizzero.
Di dove?
Io sono vicino Bellinzona.
Ah, bene. Vabbè, Ottobiano Bellinzona non è così lontano.
No, 2 orette.
2 orette. Senti, ma hai dormito un po' stanotte?
No.
Zero? Si vede un po' dagli occhi.
È vero? No, 2 orette, ma diciamo non il massimo.
Senti, ma la 24 ore cos'è che ha secondo te di così affascinante?
Bella domanda. Allora, non lo so. All'inizio c'era sicuramente più emozione, adesso che sei la 13ª, 14ª 24 ore, dunque l'emozione delle prime volte è un po' passata, però è sempre divertente la notte, il passaggio da giorno a notte e da notte a giorno, quello sicuramente.
Beh, poi sicuramente anche il gruppo col team, i team manager, insomma si crea un affiatamento tra di voi unico, perché insomma condividete veramente tanto tempo insieme.
Esatto, quello sì, sicuramente quello che mi piace dell'endurance è che è un gioco di squadra, nonostante il motorsport tendenzialmente sia singoli, però è bello proprio per il fatto che ci si unisce, si lavora tutti insieme per un obiettivo comune.
Perfetto, grazie mille e buona continuazione.
Grazie.
A te Alex.
Grazie mille, Riccardo. Great to hear from one of the team from Play Karts, who are currently running 4th. Now they are 3 laps. They're a couple of laps behind NAC team in 3rd position, who've managed to get themselves on a little bit of a recovery drive throughout the night. But looking at how things stand at the moment, PF Racing's lead might be difficult. But let's head back down to Riccardo once again. Over to you, my friend.
E abbiamo intercettato Suardi del team Red Racing, che prima l'abbiamo visto un po' dietro le quinte incazzato nero. Cosa è successo?
No, c'è stata una penalità, ma non è corretta, quindi stiamo parlando con la direzione gara per farcela rimuovere, anche perché ci stiamo giocando il podio, quindi...
Ecco, ma scusa, perché? Cosa hai combinato?
No, per una volta davvero non ho combinato assolutamente nulla, ho evitato un pilota in pista, ma probabilmente mi hanno visto che io passavo in mezzo ai cocci rotti e...
Ma questo stanotte?
No, questa mattina presto, all'alba.
Senti, la notte com'è andata?
Ma abbastanza bene, in realtà abbiamo girato forte, abbiamo anche guadagnato rispetto a dove eravamo ieri mattina e dove siamo oggi. Siamo tornati a ridosso del podio, ce lo stiamo giocando. Quindi...
Ecco, ma secondo te può arrivare il podio?
Può arrivare, ma bisogna fare capire cosa succederà con tutto il discorso penalità, perché stanno arrivando tutte le penalità non date nella notte, quindi può cambiare tutto.
Ormai sei un fedele di queste gare del mondo IRK, TB Kart, ma questa 24 ore ti sta piacendo?
Sì, no, è una gara sempre bella, corriamo 24, come squadra corriamo 24 ore in giro per tutto il mondo e questa sicuramente si può mettere in una delle 24 ore migliori che c'è, quindi
contento?
Sì, no, per il momento...
Allora non ti arrabbiare, caro
Michele. No, stavamo solo... discutendo di quanto accade in pista, ma come discutono in Formula 1 possiamo discutere anche noi.
Va bene, allora buona continuazione e vi auguriamo il podio.
Grazie.
Vai. Ciao. A te Alex.
Thank you once again to Riccardo down at ground 0. Great to hear from one of the team. I think that would have been from Red Racing. So the good thing is, well, Formula Zero, our sole Spanish team here at OTTOBIANO, have now come into the pits, so this could give the opportunity with the teams like KMRS Racing from Belgium and the UK's TRX Motorsport doing a really good job. So we are literally just less than a minute away until the last 3.5 hours, and look, it's nearly 3 wide into turn number 1, hurtling at breakneck speed. Some drivers looking to the outside, some looking into the conventional racing line, and you've got to be on the inside line really on that first corner, because you carry that speed through, but you've got to be really, really close to the curbing on the inside, as we saw, I think it was from Red Racing. So Marco Aguilera Lopez now takes over in the number 26. There was a bit of a rush a little bit earlier on. I think probably the best part of over an hour ago, where Francesco Alvano went behind the wheel and was the starting driver, having put the Spanish team fairly high up the order. But now we have, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway through hour number 21, 3.5 hours to go until the checkered flag, which also means that we now have to go back down to Riccardo, back down by the pit lane. Over to you, Riccardo.
Dovete sapere che i nostri piloti della 24 ore non sono solo contenti e non stanchi di guidare i go-kart, ma nel paddock si muovono col monopattino, giusto per non farsi mancare niente.
Esattamente, allora questo qua è un modello di ultima generazione.
4 tempi?
No, lui è soltanto 2 tempi. Come
2
potete
tempi.
vedere, trazione tendenzialmente posteriore sinistra in questo caso, no? È molto utile.
Quanti cavalieri?
Direi un asino.
Un asino? Ah, bene, bene. Senti, come ti chiami?
Alessandro.
Di cognome?
Fumagalli.
Fumagalli, che corre con il team Brambilla Fumagalli.
Esatto, team Gas Racing. E niente, dai, siamo qua per fare una bella gara. È stato interessante all'inizio, proprio il primo stint c'era tanta sabbia, qua alla fine ci sono tutte le piste da motocross, no? Quindi appena esci un attimo fuori dalla traiettoria è molto molto sporca la pista, no? Quindi devi sempre essere molto preciso alla guida e un piccolo errore ti porta subito fuori per prati, insomma. Però diciamo che è sempre una bellissima pista qua a Ottobiano.
Bene, in che posizione siete?
Abbiamo iniziato la 24 ore 17esimi e finiremo molto probabilmente la 24 ore 17esimi.
Beh, il 17 è un buon numero.
Si spera.
Era meglio che se toglievamo il 7 e finivate...
Sì. Purtroppo la top 10 a livello di capacità di tutti i ragazzi c'è, serenamente. L'abbiamo dimostrato in passato, questa edizione un po' di sfortuna ci ha ostacolato, ma insomma...
Ecco, chi è lui? Chi è lui?
Di squadra, che fa finta di niente.
Ecco, ma la notte chi è che l'ha fatta, te?
Ce la siamo divisa, comunque sì, un pezzettino, ho fatto lo stint dell'alba, molto bello, quindi che si parte col...
Romantico,
no,
a cosa pensavi? A tutte le tue donne?
No, tendenzialmente pensavo a guardare dove fosse il punto di corda perché non riuscivo a vederlo al buio, quindi è sempre molto emozionante il cercare di rimanere in vita tendenzialmente.
Bene.
E azzeccare la curva.
Ma guarda, secondo me è più pericoloso questo.
Sì, anche indubbiamente, nel dubbio adesso rispettiamo i limiti di velocità.
Anzi, guarda, facciamo una bella cosa, tieni il microfono.
Vai.
C'è un furto in diretta.
Ah.
Ciao Alex, a te la linea, io me ne vado con questo.
Riding off into the sunset goes Riccardo on the scooter. That's priceless. That's absolutely priceless. Good to see that there's some love for Formula Zero from Spain in our chat on the YouTube channel. So if you are on multiple streams, if you are on the IRK Promotion Facebook page or on the YouTube channel, please send in who who you're supporting. We'd love to hear from you. So we are getting ever closer to that 1,500 kilometre mark completed by the race leaders, and that will transpire on lap 1087 here at Ottobiano. Of course, the circuit itself measures 1,380 metres. It's a long lap, just we're seeing lap times no higher than around about a 1 minute 12 or so. But the fastest teams round about there, I think they're conserving a little, not so much conserving, but it's just when over time the drivers will find that mental and physical exhaustion start to creep in. And also coupled with hydration, if you don't hydrate properly, especially in this kind of very physical sport, you're going to cramp up. So your muscles are going to start spasming because there's a lack of hydration. Of course, when drivers perspire, you lose sodium, which is quite useful. So electrolyte drinks or drinks that will replenish that sodium that driver has lost over time will help over the course of a 24-hour endurance race. Now, several other teams are fast approaching hitting 60 minutes total in pit lane. Now, at the moment, well, Gas Racing Team in the number 32 just come in from 14th. PF Racing, they've spent a total of 42 minutes and 6 seconds in the pit lane. Red Racing 44 minutes 18 seconds. That team are about just over 11 minutes away from fulfilling the criteria for that. Kart 29 51 minutes and 50 seconds. That's Team Volturno. Movers LV 49 minutes and 41 seconds. Formula Zero nigh on matching them on pit stop times at the minute. KMRS Racing will have got just under 4 minutes to reach the minimum requirement of 60 minutes in the pit lane. Right, Erin Campbell. Shout out Aidan Campbell for Need for Speed MSR Team Cyprus 1 in the number 30. We're watching him from Scotland and Cyprus. Fantastic. Great to hear from you, Erin. Watching on the IRK TV YouTube channel. Please don't forget, if you want to keep an eye on what is happening with TB Kart and IRK promotion. But once again, looks like we've got one of the team from KMRS Racing standing by with Riccardo. Over to you, buddy.
Position now. Between and P5. Ed eccoci, l'abbiamo ritrovato, è qui da ieri sera, ancora nella stessa posizione. Il nostro driver, che gli vogliamo chiedere un po' come sta andando la corsa. What about this race? The night very strong or no?
Really strong, but really difficult because we lose a lot of time in the pit. We have the problem with the tire pressure during the night, and now we are currently in the battle for the podium, but we are between P3 and P5, approximately 10-15 seconds.
La notte non è andata proprio bene perché ci sono stati dei problemi anche qua in pit lane, ma li vogliamo chiedere, what about you think the position and the final Grand Prix?
I hope P3. I would like to finish in the podium, and we search the best strategy with my teammate now with the car change, the last car change for use, and if we have the good strategy, maybe it's possible to finish in the podium.
The podium, forse finiranno nel podio, dipende dalle strategie. Prima stava parlando col suo team manager in base, insomma, per definire al meglio la parte conclusiva di questa 24 ore. Noi ti auguriamo il meglio, good luck.
Thank you, grazie mille.
Grazie a te.
Ciao.
A te, Alex.
Thank you, Riccardo. I think that might have been Lucas Albani from KMRS Racing there with Riccardo having a little bit of a chin wag just by the pit lane area. So you can obviously see that we are seeing different forms of race suits being used. I think Lucas's looks a bit more like a cycling outfit. It's very. The thing is that in Arrive and Drive, you can try and use as much advantage as you can. And I would have thought by that race suit that he was wearing, he was actually more like an ice rink skater going for, you know, speed trials in the Olympics. But what do I know? But the thing is that any advantage that you can gain can help. Now, obviously, weight with regards to minimum weight on the drivers needs to be adhered to. So the more grams you can save, but keep yourself close to that minimum driver weight, you're fine. You're fine. It's all good. But KMRS Racing runners up last year. They are 17 laps down off of the leaders, who are now on lap number 1039, which they are soon to complete. And Vika Schleds has been behind the wheel of the number 13 entry for just coming up to 5 hours and 40 minutes in total. RKS Training now in the pit lane from 21st, the number 34 entry. One of the many Italian teams that we have as part of this. But let's head back down to Riccardo. He's on the gantry where the mechanics or one of the teams will normally stand.
E siamo sul muretto dei team manager dove avvengono le strategie, i pensieri, dove si vede da vicinissimo la pista come ci sta facendo vedere il nostro Luca. Siamo con
Rondenam, Marco, Bremo 77.
Ok, come sta andando la corsa?
Un po' altalenante, diciamo abbiamo passato indenni la notte e adesso cerchiamo di chiudere la giornata in positivo.
In che posizione siete?
Adesso siamo intorno alla 30ª.
30ª posizione?
Sì. Abbiamo avuto degli inconvenienti a inizio gara, un po' con i pit stop, un po' con le carte un po' acciaccati.
Quanti piloti avevate nel team? Avete nel team?
Ne abbiamo 4, però diciamo che abbiamo corso solo con 3 perché uno poverino col fisico non ce l'ha fatta e si è solo smarcato, diciamo.
Quindi un bel impegno anche per i piloti, 3 piloti, insomma dividersi 24 ore è già un successo portare a casa la bandiera a scacchi.
Sì, esatto, è stata una grande fatica e una grande soddisfazione essere arrivato fino a questo punto.
Ecco, comunque divertente.
Sì, senz'altro, senza dubbio.
La parte più bella di una 24 ore qual è?
Secondo me la notte perché è impegnativa sia per i piloti che per chi sta qua al muretto, perché rimanere svegli tutto il tempo porta via energie.
Vabbè dai, comunque mancano 3 ore più o meno.
Abbiamo ancora un paio di cambi e speriamo di finirla, dai.
Avanti tutta.
Avanti tutta, grazie.
Grazie mille a te. A te Alex.
I love a martini racing livery wherever it is. It can be on a sweatshirt for all I care. I love the fact that we are all aficionados of motorsport. We love racing, and it's great to see that. But kart 34 has now dropped outside of the top 20, so RKS Training have been in the pits for just over 3 minutes and 10 seconds. So this will put them on around about 51, 52 minutes of pit stop time that they've spent in there. But obviously what I'm seeing is that PF Racing strategy is, I'm trying to decipher it a little bit here, that they could spend, if they, I'm looking at it from this perspective, if they spent 4 pit stops and spent 4 minutes on each one, that will effectively take them, that'll take them to 58 minutes. So they're going to have to do possibly maybe 2 pit stops where they maximise it as much as possible, or maximise every pit stop to fulfill that criteria. So RKS Training, now that was a 4-minute pit stop, so that's put them on 52 minutes, or 52 minutes and 9 seconds completely in the pit lane that they've spent so far this race. And again, you can just see how wide they're taking that exit on that final corner. And 3 karts pretty much line astern. And Anna saying an interview with Pablo, I think from that'll be Pablo Sanchez Vera. Pablo Sanchez Vera. Thank you, Anna. We'll try and see if we can catch up with Pablo, but who's not in the kart at the moment. It's Marco Aguilera Lopez, who's at the moment spent a total time of just over 4 hours and 25 minutes on driving duties. There you see clipboards, pens in hand, probably smartphones in their laps. RPM now going to the pit lane. The number 27 kart, they pitted from 25th on the road as we are fast approaching the final quarter of hour number 21, and then just after we go off air until 1 o'clock local time, when we'll bring you that final hour of the ultimate endurance race, the 24 by TB Karts and IRK Promotion. Of course, the R1 chassis with the Honda 390cc 4-stroke 18 horsepower engines. And I did speak to Stu Stratton I said, how were things going? And he said, well, during the night we had 3 dramas in half an hour. And I said, okay, what happened? He said, well, we came in because one of the carts had its chain come off the sprocket. Went out 3 minutes later, puncture. Then went out again on another cart, 24 minutes, more dramas, and it was the spark plug. It was spark plug related. So these carts are being tested just as hard as these drivers are, believe you me. But we're on lap number 1045, courtesy of our race leaders. Now, the biggest thing is that NAC team could be brought back into the battle for the race lead. So could out of the top 5 teams, maybe top 6, you look at the amount of time that those teams have spent in pit lane, and the least time spent has been by the race leaders. So there's going to be a lot of activity for the defending champions, PF Racing. Wild Boar Racing have now been in the pits for just over a minute, and they have dropped down from 22nd when they entered the pit lane from the left, which is the left-hand side. The entrance is the left-hand side to the final corner, and RPM now out after 4 minutes and 26 seconds, and that puts them over the hour spent in the pit lane. So that is the 4th team out of 39 still running that have met the minimum 60 minutes in the pit lane requirement as per the regulations. So there is a little bit of brightness starting to hit its way onto the track. There are some flecks of blue sky in the air as well, which is a welcome sight to see. Of course, the teams would have been wrapped up, drivers would have been wrapped up in warmer clothing, such as thick, dense hoodies, very thickly layered ones at that, tracksuit bottoms, or some might fancy a bit of ventilation. Because yesterday was quite muggy. It's looking like it could be the same here for the remainder of the 24. Now, in the meantime, Roma Karting 7 have really upped the pace and are closing in on RMAX Junior. So RMAX Junior are going to be under threat for that 10th position. So kart 16 versus kart 3. That could be a very, very enticing battle, because the gap between them is nigh on next to nothing. Now they're coming through they're halfway through sector 2 at the moment. And there we see some of the members of Need for Speed MSR Team Cyprus. Had a chat with a couple of the team in the cafeteria last night whilst getting some welcome refreshment, and I said it's really, really good to see some Cypriot representation. Okay, NAC team now in the pits. And this is their 20th pit stop. So fast approaching. So how is this going to upset the apple cart, so to speak? Now NAC team are one of the crews. Now this is going to put them over 50 minutes in the pit lane as of right now. So they have gone over 50 minutes in the pit lane. How much longer they're in the pits for will depend on whether they are effecting a driver change. So Vickersted's now currently 40 minutes into his stint. And that's going to put him probably, I think, over the 5-hour mark of total time driven. Goat Slam, the number 37 Italian entry. now has found itself tumbling from 26th. Okay. Dimitri Polozar for NAC team gets behind the wheel. They've just gone over the 15 minutes and 35 seconds. So as soon as the driver's transponder crosses the entrance, gets the antenna for the as soon as they cross over, and there has been a change. Samuele Riso has got past Kevin Cancelli for 10th position. So change between Roma Karting 7 and Armax Junior for the final position in the top 10. So, and that was an on-track pass. So, but the thing is, the strategy game, this chess game over the next 3 hours, 9 minutes and 30 seconds is going to be dependent on how much time. Now, the thing that I'm wondering is whether PF Racing have decided to go for a full push, go for outright consistency, and then what they may do, minimum driver time that can be spent behind the wheel is 10 minutes. So if they decide, right, okay, let's say over a period of X amount of laps, okay, let's see, if we can get a driver change done in a minute, get someone out for 10 minutes, get back in, and then get another driver to quickly, rapidly change over. That could be a way to get those pit stops out of the way. But then that's effectively going to put them with 42 minutes in the pit lane. That's 18 minutes. That'll be 18 pit stops. Effectively, the rental kart equivalent of a splash and dash, or they play the longer game and spread out those pit stops. So at the moment we've got a couple of teams on 23 pit stops. Cartel, Debris Racing, Lions RT, they've all hit 23 pit stops. OTTOBIANO Karting Academy, Kart Academy have done 25 pit stops. And they're about 5 minutes away from hitting 60 minutes. So it's about how you keep your cards close to your chest over the course of a 24-hour enduro. 1,050 laps now completed. So it's going to have to be down to strategy, not outright consistency. A combination of the two could be the way to winning this race here at the 24. Armax Junior have pitted. Cancelli now in the pit lane. And that cart has now been in for nearly 3 minutes. So that is going to get them ever closer. So if they maximise the opportunity, 3 minutes, that's going to put them right. Okay, they've just gone over 56 minutes total pit time. So Anna, hopefully we'll try and see if we can get an interview with Pablo Sanchez Vera for Formula Zero, but it might be in the last hour of our broadcasting schedule here at OTTOBIANO. So Bremo 69 in the pit lane. Armax Junior now 3 minutes and 35 seconds. So maybe they might stretch this out to maximise their opportunity. Kart 33. S-Kart working now in the pit lane. But the drama still will continue as we are fast approaching the end of our number 21 of the Ultimate Endurance Race, the 24, by TB Karts and IRK Promotion. Well, folks, a big thank you to everyone watching on GoTV Channel 809, IRK TV YouTube, and IRK Promotion Facebook, and on Digital Italian TV Channel 244. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a break away here on the live coverage, as we'll be back at 1 p.m. local time to bring you the final 60 minutes of the Ultimate Endurance Race, the 24 by TV Kart and IRK Promotion. We'll see you at 1 o'clock for the final 60 minutes.